was a rumble in the jungle once. I heard Dad was outside again counting birds, and Mama plugged in a nightlight, and I saw the queen of the world.
Welcome to the Golden Hour Birth Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I am Liz, your co-host.
And I'm Natalie, your other co-host. And tonight we have Hannah on. She is a mom of 2 boys and also a fellow birth center mom. So thanks for coming on, Hannah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love hearing other people's birth stories. So I was like,
Right?
I might as well give mine.
It's a passion.
It is.
Yeah. So if you want to go ahead and kind of tell listeners a little bit about your family, and we can start from there.
Okay, let's see. So I've been with my husband, Scott, for 15 and a half years. We met in high school through mutual friends because he went to SLU and I went to Limburg. But so yeah, been together forever. Still have to like count sometimes. But got married in 2014. And let's see, we had a rabbit, white rabbit, and Milo, good old Milo.
Oh.
And 2 dogs. I wanted a cat. Scott gave like a species limit in the household. It's like fine, which is fine. I don't need a cat. And yeah, he works at Boeing, and I am a dental hygienist, but I stopped working, let's see, after going back to work when I had Benjamin for only a few months, really. So yeah, I've been retired for a couple years now.
Yeah, wow. All of our guests so far have been in the health field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
That's so
funny.
true.
That was funny.
It's a reoccurring theme
Yeah,
here.
seriously. We're just interested in birth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in the health field, but
Me neither. Mental health.
Hey,
Sort of.
absolutely.
that's all.
Yeah, halfway there. So if you want to go ahead and tell us how you and Scott decided to start a family, when that kind of was, and then finding out that you were pregnant with Benjamin.
Okay. Yes. So got married 2014. And, after a couple years, I'm like, okay, we gonna start. I've been together forever.
Yeah.
I've always known I've wanted to be a mom or try to be a mom. And I'm like, just tapping my fingers, being patient until I wasn't anymore. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. So we started trying in 2017. And I had no idea about, the details of getting pregnant. It was more, just trying. And I got impatient after a month and bought one of those ovulation kits, And then the next month I was pregnant. So very fortunate that I have been lucky.
Yeah.
Like
Those
that.
ovulation kits are really cool too.
Yes.
You
They
can
really
just
are.
track to the day.
To the day, yes. Hours, right. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was excited, kind of like, oh, it's like happening. It's exciting. And then I remember walking out and showing Scott the test when he was in the kitchen, and he was just like, holy, okay, it's happening. Didn't expect it, to happen that fast. I think all men just think the most fun part is trying, right?
Right. We're just here for it.
So yeah, and that is how we got started with Benjamin. That was, maybe September, October 2017. And
What was your pregnancy like with him?
it was, first trimester was rough. I was still working dental hygiene. And I think that almost helped though, staying busy, even though I was on my feet all day. I didn't get to really think about how nauseous I was. And oh my gosh, Preggy Pops. You guys
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
those saved me. And me being a dental hygienist, I'm like,
Popping candy.
just sucking on candy all day. Could barely brush my teeth. Poor thing. I was just like, it made me so sick. But made it through. And that was the worst of it. I was tired, but I remember being exhausted. I would say the nausea was the worst part with Benjamin. The first trimester, and then kind of just smooth sailing through second. Third, got a little bit more rough. Sleeping was hard. I got restless leg syndrome at night. Ugh. Ugh, that was terrible. I still remember what that was. I like came up with a routine like every night where I would do like stretches and like yoga and like a warm bath. And then I would apply like my magnesium lotion on my leg. And it was like, it took like an hour just for me to like be able to go to bed. But it did help. So I did that for a really long time. No complications really. So that was, I didn't originally plan on going to the birthing center. I was with an OB. And it was like maybe 16 weeks. I don't remember that I started kind of being like, I don't know. Because I remember seeing at my OB's office a sign or like they handed a flyer, get a packet or whatever. And it said that they didn't accept birth plans. And so that was kind of like a, what? Really? Just like a hard no. It was like red flag to me.
Like, that's so weird.
Don't get, like,
you have like no
things or like,
yeah, exactly.
what?
I didn't even really ask. I was just like, okay,
None of
that's
your
weird.
preference.
I had already been questioning what route I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of like confirming. I watched Business of Being Born.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That was my
That-
gateway.
That
too.
was everything.
Yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes. So then after that, done deal. I consider myself having a pretty, what is it called?
Holistic.
No, strong pain
Tolerance.
Thank
Pain
you.
tolerance,
Tolerance, yes. Tolerance. And so I was like, I've seen the movies, heard the stories, but I'm gonna try. And then watch that. And then got a tour at the birthing center and just loved all the midwives. And oh my gosh, other rooms and like this is like a hotel. Like
Yeah.
this is lovely. So they kind of sell it to you,
They barely have to do anything
No,
either.
they don't. You just look at
they're like-
the room.
Okay.
Step into
Right.
luxury.
Yeah.
See the bubble wall,
Yeah.
the colors.
Yes.
All right. I get to pick my own room too. Dang.
How was Scott feeling about the birthing center? Because I just feel like guys just know the hospital.
Right.
That's just what they know. So how did he feel
Well,
about that?
Scott watched that with me and he was very whatever I wanted to do, acknowledged it's my body and was fully supportive of whatever route that I wanted to go in.
That's good.
Yes, which was very nice. So then we switched and I felt really great. All those appointments went really well. Love that they like have you meet all of them, which is really nice.
Yeah. Didn't you love how you go in and it's a couch?
I know.
You're
Yeah.
not like jumping up on an
Yeah.
exam table every time.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
just like, just lay down on the couch.
Right.
And I'll check your, measurements and everything.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Just so much more like calm,
Yeah.
peaceful, which definitely helped my decision. But
Yeah.
where was I going to go with that? Because I switched over. But and then third trimester was the kind of rough patch with that. But all in all, I would say really, really easy pregnancy. So
Good.
very lucky with that.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and jump into the birth.
That is next. Let's see. I had prodromal labor for weeks.
And what is that?
Fake labor.
For labor. For people who don't
Yes.
know.
Fake labor.
Fake
Yeah.
labor.
So, your body, you get the contractions started. They kind of like are a little sporadic, not consistent, and then kind of fizzle off after a few hours or whatever it is. Because I stopped working at 38 weeks, I think. Convinced, by 40 weeks, he'll definitely be here. And it was because it was just way too uncomfortable. You have a huge belly and you have a patient in front of the belly and you're like already bending over. Whew. So very glad to be done working. I was a bit of a couch potato towards the end, but had my two doggies, so they kept me fairly busy. But I was also doing coaching at Forward Fitness, and I stopped that, I think, maybe 39 weeks, 40 weeks. Kind of same thing, just kind of over being on my feet all the time. But prodromal labor for a couple weeks, and that sucked.
Did you end up like, were you calling the midwives every time, or did you just kind of know like?
I knew this.
For?
Yeah, maybe the first day it happened, I was just like, ooh, but then by evening it had gone away, and so I had done a fair amount of research about what to look for and what to expect, and so I felt pretty prepared that I would know when it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So July 3rd, we went for a swim at my in-laws' pool, and that was really nice. And I think that might have helped kickstart. Also, like July 4th was the next day. They say babies love ruining plans. That is accurate. So July 4th, I wake up in the early morning, like 1:30. So immediately I was like, this is different. Usually, my fake labor started in the afternoon. So this has got to be it. I was able, I timed my contractions. They're like 10 minutes apart. I was like, well, I'm going to try to go back to sleep. Didn't have to worry about Scott being off work because he already was. And woke up at like 8. So I still got a good amount of sleep, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still there. And we actually had plans to meet with Benjamin's in-home daycare lady. And I was like, well, we're going to go because I think the kid's coming. And I don't know, I'm not going to meet her when I have a 1-week-old. So we went and stayed consistent, the contractions, but they weren't like uncomfortable yet or anything. I could still talk through them. And, she did the tour and asked her questions. And by the end of the hour, though, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go home.
Mm-hmm.
So we went home, and Scott made our bedroom like super dark. And I got my birthing ball out, and I was doing hypnobirthing, which I did like an online course. And I also went and saw a doula who specializes in hypnobirthing. And so I was like, that was my game plan for the natural birth. And so I listened to my tapes, and they're just all about, relaxing and breathing the baby down. And Scott turned on Elf, the movie, for me.
On July 4th. I love that.
So watched that a bit. I think I nibbled on a sandwich. I just wasn't very hungry. I should have eaten more, but it just didn't sound good. So that was like, I think I called when I was like on the way home from the sitters, and Elizabeth answered, who's not there anymore, but I know she was amazing, wasn't she? Oh, it was like when she answered, I'm like, do you ever sleep? Like, seriously, you're there all the time. But she told me to, call back when I couldn't talk through them anymore and they're getting uncomfortable. So maybe like 1:30, I remember taking a shower, and that felt so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I want to be in my room with the fancy like wand, like hand wand for the shower there, because it just sounded so nice to have that on my lower back. That's where I was.
Yes.
I didn't have back labor per se, thankfully, because I've heard that sucks. But
did you listen to mine?
yes, but it definitely wrapped into my back, and I think just like I was starting to feel the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember just like having that thing on my back, even when I was having uterine contractions, and I was like, oh, why does this feel so good?
Mm-hmm. And so called, and they said, well, it's kind of up to you, which I hate.
Yeah.
Like, it's like that moment where it's like, well, do I go in and then get denied? And I had to like come back home.
Right. And
But-
then that car ride.
Yes.
That brutal car ride
The
there.
car ride.
It's like, I don't want to wait too long because
Yes.
then, it's so uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And then, to be denied and then like get back in the car. No.
Absolutely not, right? Thankfully, we live in Webster Grove, so it's like 15 minutes, if that. So again, I was like dead set on the shower there. So I'm like, let's go. We're going to go. So we get there like 2:15. Elizabeth checks me, and I'm 5 centimeters and 90% effaced. So good progress.
Mhm.
And she was like, you can walk around, or we can go ahead and put you in a room. Again, get me in that shower. I like immediately undressed to my birthday suit. Don't care who sees me. I'm getting naked. Like, got in the shower. It was as amazing as I was expecting. And I had Scott, using the wand on my lower back, and that was awesome. We did that for a while, and the whole time I was still listening to my tapes. And next up, I wanted to be in the tub. So got in the tub, and that's when things really picked up. And that's when, a lot of pain. Whew, there was a lot of I think at one point I put a wash rag in my mouth just so I had something to bite down on. Aww. Even though they say, you got do the horse lips. Yeah. Gotta stay loose, gotta relax. That's when it was the hardest for me. And that is when I think I hit transition. Because that's when my water broke in the tub too. Remember the nurse? She's like, "Do you want me to empty it?" I was so far gone from talking to anyone. I'm like, I don't care. I will sit in this. That's how desperate I am to just block out what is happening right now. But even though I knew that was happening, I was kind of telling myself that it was almost over. Because, that's what they say, the worst part. And then it's baby's almost here. Mm-hmm. So sure enough, I think around 5, after I got out of the tub, I was fully dilated. And they told me I could start pushing. But again, with hypnobirthing, I had practiced breathing down. Mm-hmm. It's I want to try to really minimize tearing. Mm-hmm. So I tried that. I remember moving. They kept wanting me to get up on the bed. Oh my gosh, for some reason, getting my legs up onto the bed was just put me in excruciating pain. And Scott was there the whole time. I think he got up to pee twice the whole time we were there. But I just internalized my pain so much that I was so numb to everything, trying to block out how much pain I was in. Mm-hmm. I don't think I really I didn't vocalize that enough. I think to them, they just thought I was concentrating and, going through it. But, looking back, I probably should have been I don't think this is right, but first time, you don't know what to expect. Yeah. I was the first one to have a baby in my friend group. So it's not like I had anyone to talk to. So that was around 5. And then 5 or 6, maybe. That the timing gets so hazy. Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's it goes fast, but it doesn't at the same time. So I'm asking Scott later what time all this happened. But
the only reason I know is from pictures, the time pictures.
Yeah. Thank God for those.
I don't know. Scott even took me. I think it was just he was right there. He was next to me, but I don't remember him being there. They had me move a bunch, on the toilet, squatting on the bed. And I know they had several other moms at the time. So Elizabeth, was in and out. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to mention. This might be slightly embarrassing, but this is a birthing podcast. So when I was in the tub, I was in so much pain that I was so desperate for relief that I tried to stimulate my clitoris. I was trying to give myself an orgasm because I read that helped move things along and also we get the pain away. No, again, I was so numb. I think I did for 10 seconds. I'm this isn't doing jack.
And any more movement you have to do is too much.
Right. I'm never mind, abort mission. Yeah. I only imagine my nurse and Elizabeth was in there. She's probably what's she trying to do?
They know they're midwives.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard that too. And that was my thought of nipple stimulation, yes! Anything to take my mind off. And then I was so focused on it that I couldn't even think of doing that in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. But so that didn't do anything. But I didn't even think to do that later, anyway. So I ended up pushing, air quotes, for a long time because it wasn't actual pushing, but I was fully dilated and, I was having contractions. And at one point, Elizabeth asked me to feel for the head, which I did. I felt Ben's head. And it wasn't super far up there, but gosh, it just seemed so stuck. And by the time that I think Elizabeth could make it to my room and like really like focus on me, she was kind of like, all right, like it's time to get the show on the road. Like it's been several hours. So that's when they had me get up on the bed and do like the purple pushing. So that's like when your face is like turning purple from pushing so hard. And they were like pushing on my legs, you know, classic kind of like things you've heard in stories you've heard in movies and stuff. But I was so exhausted by that point, though, that like I would push for like half a contraction and then I would lose it. And also, like, because I was so numb, I felt like I couldn't figure out how to push. Like, it didn't come naturally to me how to push. I was definitely pushing with my stomach and not with my pelvic floor. And they were using like so much lube. Like Elizabeth was really like, trying to help me. And I remember her saying, you know, we were past the point of vacuum or any forceps or anything to help. I was so exhausted. I was on the bed. I laid back. I was like, just cut him out of me. Which Scott laughed at. He chuckled. But, you know, they kind of looked at me like, are you serious? Like, they didn't know I was joking. And maybe I wasn't a little bit in the moment. But I knew he was right there, you know. So, you know, they really coached me. And she asked me if I wanted a mirror to see his head. And I said no. Again, I was just so exhausted. I was like, how's that going to help me? Like, I don't care. Like, I just need this kid out of me. It had been like 4 hours at that point. And then that's when, you know, I felt the ring of fire. Just, whew. You know, I hated the term. I thought it was so fear-inducing. But again, read that when that happens, usually you get your baby, like, really fast. Yeah. No, not in my case.
No.
I felt that for like 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
no.
Yeah, he was so stuck and I was so exhausted. I just could not get him out. And I really think in the end it was mostly like Elizabeth like pushing to pop his head out.
Wow.
Finally, his head came out. And then, you know, the rest is kind of, it just slipped right out. And I remember her holding him up. And I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, he's huge. Like that came out of me, even though he was only 8 pounds, 6 ounces. But like he just looked ginormous to me. Like kind of like she was like kind of doing like Simba, you know. I think just the angle, he was higher than I was. I don't know. But I was just like, I looked at him and I just laid back and was just like, oh my God, I'm done. I did it. Like he's out. And he was fine, thankfully. You know, they checked his heart the whole time, and that was never a concern. So I think that's why they didn't really pressure me to start trying to get him out sooner.
Yeah.
They were like, that's why when he came out, because he had his hand up by his face.
Oh my God.
So that's why he got slowly came out. So, you know, he was kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Little stinker.
Oh my God.
But I had just like 1st-degree tear. Elizabeth's stitches were amazing. That woman, seriously, I miss her. But, you know, when he came out, I was just like, I was so relieved that I was done. And I was exhausted. And Scott, you know, was kind of crying. He was like, he has my ears. I was like, well, that's cute, but I'll look at him in a minute. Which he doesn't really. He's got big ears. But yeah, so forgot to mention, you know, that when his head was coming out, I heard fireworks in the background.
Oh,
So that was kind of cute.
that is kind of
Because at that point, I thought it was 2 days later. For all I knew. I was like, today could be July 6th. For all I know. So I was like, oh my God, it's still July 4th. Okay. That's it. That's fun. So I had a July 4th baby. And yeah, a little firecracker.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
So how long were you pushing total?
4 hours.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I am, like I said, I think if Elizabeth had so many other moms that they probably would have sent me upstairs. And I even heard her like comment at one point to a nurse that so-and-so, like maybe a doctor that's upstairs would have done a C-section by now or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And I was so adamant against having a C-section, even when I made my comment. I'm just thankful, that his heartbeat was still good, but hypnobirthing, I don't know if that. Certainly, I didn't use that for Dean, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
It just was not my jam. The woman's voice is perfectly soothing, but I don't think she helped me enough.
Oh.
But yeah, ordered a pizza right away.
I appreciate that.
Gosh, and then, they kind of kick you out so fast. I'm like, dang, I feel like I just got a breath. And then they're like, well, sorry, your time's up. I think we were there 4 hours.
Yeah, that was before they switched it to where you could stay.
Yes.
The 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, they said we could go upstairs, but I really just wanted to go home.
Mhm.
I've never slept well. I need my special pillow. Guys, I have neck issues. So, packed him up. I remember walking out and thinking I was done having children. So it was pretty traumatic. And I just remember shaking my legs, shaking so much. But I mean, that happened for days after I had been, not just like hours, from your hormones. But I think I literally used so much strength and like muscle when I was pushing that it literally was like a workout. I'm kind of going into postpartum.
Yeah, perfect.
So that was hard. I, for some reason, was really dumb and thought like you couldn't take ibuprofen or Advil or Tylenol or whatever, acetaminophen. So I didn't. I definitely could have. I don't know why I didn't. I think since I was breastfeeding, I don't know. I don't know where, that got screwed up. But so I didn't take any of that. So that didn't help. I know, that didn't help. And
I was like, cycle it.
I should. I would have helped so much. So much.
You guys are telling me I can have it every 4 hours?
Right. And I think that is part of, why it's nice that you can stay longer, because I just feel like I missed out on some of maybe those suggestions by not staying. And so, I just remember being really sore. Obviously got hemorrhoids at the wazoo. Oh my God, Scott, poor Scott. Yeah. I'm like, I need you to look. What is happening?
Oh my God.
Down there.
I had a mirror. I was like, what?
Because I was like, we've been together for so long. I'm like, Scott, tell me what this is. But, and confirmed hemorrhoids. Obviously. I mean, push for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Woohoo! And so healing was rough, but we had a lot of visitors, which was nice. And I had no issues saying, peace out, I'm going to go sleep. Scott can entertain you and you can hold the baby and I'm going to go to bed.
I need some of that.
Woohoo! Yes, gotta sleep. I mean, I sleep 10 hours a day, like right now. So, like, having a baby, I was like, I'm keeping this up as much as I can. But breastfeeding was fairly smooth with Ben. Very classic, like one side pop off, other side pop off, burp in between, pass out. He was just like a very kind of easy breastfed baby, which was nice.
That's good.
Obviously, the cluster feeding and a little bit of sore nipples, but nothing that was terrible that had me questioning it. Do you guys remember your first postpartum cry?
Yeah. Like the day I was home from the hospital.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We had heard different techniques for handling nighttime, and my in-laws had mentioned that they kind of split the night half and half. So someone sleeps with the baby downstairs, the other person gets the bed upstairs, and it's a shift change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we decided to try that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I lasted Scott went upstairs to sleep first, and I think I lasted 30 minutes. And I, shaking legs, wobble upstairs, and I open the door, very bluntly open the door, and he pops up, he's on alert, and I'm just like, I need sleep. Just bawling. He's like, yep, gets up, just goes downstairs and bless that man. He like let me sleep probably longer than he should have, but
What night was that?
that was like night 1.
Oh, okay.
And so after that,
my
we were
gosh,
like,
yeah.
nah, we're not doing that. That's not for
Yeah.
us.
Mhm.
And so we tried. After that, we decided to do more like, okay, we're all going to go to bed up in our room together, like 8 or 9. And this worked really well for us, just tip. But we had him on one side of the bed, and then we would take turns being right next to him. And the person who was right next to him was like the one in charge because, you know, they make so many little noises.
Yeah.
You're up every like 10 minutes just putting your hand on them like, are you going to wake up or not?
Mhm.
So that person got the, you know, crappy sleep while the other person was in the deep sleep. And then earbuds, put those in if you're not next to the baby, which helped a lot, you know, because you still hear the big cries, but not the little snorts and coos and cute little noises, but not when you're really exhausted. But so we would switch back and forth, and, you know, Scott would get him up while I maybe had a couple extra minutes. He'd bring him to me. I'd breastfeed. He'd fall back asleep, switch sides, give him back. He'd change the diaper. I'd pass out, and we would do that. And that worked so well. But as with anything with babies, you know, you get used to one thing and then they change it up on you. So, you know, it's just trial and error, trying different swaddles, you know, trying different sounds and pacifiers. Oh my God, I think I spent like $200 on pacifiers. I'm like, please take a pacifier. I will spend it. I bought like one from another country. It's like handmade waxed. I got some kind of bougie pacifier.
There's so many.
And of course,
shapes.
that was the one that he did take the most, but barely.
Don't lose that
even
one.
then. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that worked well for us. So that was good. And then cluster feeding, you know. But all in all, I just had baby blues, thankfully. Scott was my rock. I think without him, I would have been more susceptible probably. But we were in it together, and that helped. And that's why that first night didn't go well. Because I was like, even if you don't do anything, I need you next to me for like support.
Yeah, you're in it together.
Yes.
It's Jason and I always say it's me and you against the kids.
Right. Yes.
I'm taking
exactly.
that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, we say the same thing. Like, you're really trying to get to us tonight, aren't they? They're not gonna win.
Yeah. Can't make us.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Yeah, you know. Oh, another, you know, cluster feeding is the worst. And I remember Scott, this is another crying story, but this one's more funny. And he had been cluster feeding for like 24 hours straight. And I was like at my wit's end. And Scott was in a volleyball league. And this was like week 2. And he skipped week 1. But he was like, I'm going to go. It's like 4 hours. All right. Yep. Go ahead. Got this. But again, cluster fed for like 24 hours, like 0 sleep. And I was watching New Girl. You guys watch New Girl?
I love. So good.
And it was the episode where Cece finds out she's pregnant. Which, if you haven't seen this episode, spoiler alert. And Scott comes home at this exact moment, but Schmidt fills up their room full of flowers to tell her that she's pregnant. And I'm like breastfeeding Ben, and I'm watching this, and I'm just bawling my eyes out. And he definitely walks in like tiptoeing, like, oh my gosh, what's happened? And I'm just like, that's so cute.
You can find me like that on like a Friday night with or without a baby on my boob.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that was oh my gosh, it was such a good scene. So hormonal. Oh, because I don't normally cry. Scott's the crier, which I'll admit. Love him for it. But
I love that.
yeah. So, yeah. It's Benjamin.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for new moms or anyone wanting to kind of do a natural birth?
Oh, that's a good question. I do have new advice. This is just the same advice I give to each of my friends when they get pregnant and have a baby. And that is to start sharing parenting responsibilities immediately. You know, have dad change the diaper, have him give them a bath, have them take baby when they're fussy and they won't stop crying. You don't know what to do either, you know? I think a lot of times moms kind of get in the, well, I like how I do it and I do it faster and it's just easier, so I'm just gonna do it really fast. So even though you might have to, you know, bite your tongue when dad puts the diaper on backwards or whatever it is, you know, I think that's really important to give them the opportunity to show how useful and helpful that they can be. And then that way, when the kid turns a year, you're not like, why am I the one who's only doing, you know, nighttime routine and you say you don't know how to do it, you know? I just think it's so important for mom's mental health to be able to pass baby off and like trust that you know
Couldn't agree more.
that they're doing just as good of a job as you are trying. You know?
Yeah,
You know.
trust is huge during that time. And you're both learning together.
Yes, exactly.
So like, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
Either, but
Use it as
you're just the
a
default.
learning, excuse or learning experience
Yeah.
together. Because I mean, parenting's so hard, and newborn stage is rough, but it's one of many bumps that you'll go through in your relationship. You know, so if you're sharing 50-50 work, it's only going to make you appreciate your partner more because you know how hard they're working.
So
you know,
true.
That's really good advice.
Yeah,
So we're going through that now with like our toddler, just a little hitting, and we're both like, after we put him to bed the other night, we're both just like, I don't know what to do.
right?
He's like, I don't either. I'm like, is there a book?
Right.
A course? Like, how do we discipline him? Like, you know, and stay true to like our what we would like our parenting styles to be. And oh my God, there's just no handbook for that stuff.
I know, right? Yeah, it is nice to be able to bounce ideas off of each other and, you know that you're working as a team. And like you said earlier, you know, it's us against them. Totally is. In every stage. So
true.
You got to think of it like that.
Very true.
I probably changed like 500 diapers by the time Wesley was born, just from like being an aunt so young and nannying so many times. And Sam would start changing diapers, and I'd just be like, shut up, Natalie, shut up.
Exactly.
Don't say
You gotta bite your
anything.
tongue. Yep, exactly.
And sure enough, that Samuel is such a good diaper changer now. And he's doing it in minutes with an alligator on our hands.
Right.
Like, just
That's
turn it,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think dads, you know, they want to be as good as moms. But I just don't think it always comes as naturally to them. And sometimes a little hint here and there, like, oh, you know, and when I do it, I found it helps if you twist it this way or whatever. And then, you know, they might, if you say that 4 times, they might on the 5th time pick it up. You know, takes practice.
Once
patience.
they have that first blowout, and you're like, well, if you put it on a little tighter, ruffles out.
Yes.
And they're like, okay.
Just gentle comments. And no need to blow up. No pun intended. And then natural, no, I don't know.
I'll say one thing. I think the business of being born, which like I didn't even mention in my own, but we talked about this a lot, and like that was a life changer for me. So if anyone is thinking of doing a natural birth or something even close, like that is the best documentary I've ever seen.
Yes, it is a good one. And I'm pretty sure you can watch it for free.
Yeah, on like YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah,
we watched on YouTube. That was an eye-opener for sure.
It was
just like a lot of new things that I had no idea about the history of birth.
Yep.
So,
and Ricky Lake was like such a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting her, but I like it.
Right. But also do look into different ways to cope with pain. And I actually, that's another just tip I give to moms, is because you don't necessarily know the epidural is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a good idea to have some type of method so that you can ease your mind during those contractions. Because even when it does work, you still feel kind of pressure,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily, the pain, but that's just a good thing to do, just in case.
Yeah.
Good to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And know your options.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have a birth plan.
Yeah.
If you have to pivot from it, it's okay.
Right.
Like, at least
Right.
have that.
Just creating it, you learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
very true.
yeah. If your doctor says you can't bring a birth plan in,
That might be a red flag.
Yeah. let's rethink.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Hannah, thanks so much for coming on.
you.
It was so wonderful hearing about Ben's birth.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back for number 2.
Perfect.
For photos and more information on Hannah, check out our website, thegoldenhourbirthpodcast.com. You can also find links in the show notes to follow Natalie and Liz on Instagram and Facebook. There are also links to great resources there as well. If you would like to share your story with us, head over to our website and fill out the guest intake form, or just DM us on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll be in touch with you shortly. And if you enjoy our podcast, please share with your friends and family. And if you wouldn't mind just giving us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. If you really want to help us out, you could leave us a review, which would help us spread wide to all the other listeners who might want to be listening to birth stories. So we'll see you next episode.